Solving and graphing multi-step inequalities with interval notation. Example 1. Consider the following inequality. We have negative 2x plus 1 is less than or equal to 5. Step 1. Solve the linear inequality for the given variable. Simplify and express your answer in algebraic notation. So when we solve this inequality, we're going to do the same thing that we would when we're solving an equation. We're going to start by moving that positive 1. Since it's a positive 1, we're going to subtract 1 on both sides. And then I'm going to bring down my negative 2x, and I'm going to bring down my inequality. And then I'm going to do 5 minus 1, which is equal to 4. Next, I need to divide by negative 2 on both sides. There is a rule when we divide by a negative, we do need to flip the inequality. So then when I divide by that negative 2 on both sides, I'm going to bring down my x, but then I'm going to flip that inequality. So then it'll be x is greater than or equal to, and then 4 divided by negative 2 gives me negative 2. Now I'm going to graph the solution to the given inequality. X is greater than or equal to negative 2. That's going to be a half open interval. Negative 2 is the solution to the inequality since there's a line underneath that inequality, so there's going to be a bracket. X is greater than, so it's going to be bigger than negative 2, so it's going to go towards the positive infinity. So I'm going to select the following interval, so it'll be a bracket at negative 2, and then I'm going to take that line towards the positive infinity. And so this is what my line is going to look like for example 1. Example 2, consider the following inequality. 3z minus 6.6 is less than negative 13.1 plus 4z. Step 1, solve the linear inequality for the given variable. Simplify and express your answer in algebraic notation. So I'm going to solve this inequality like I would a normal linear equation. I always start by moving the variable, and I like to move the smaller of the two variables. And so I'm going to move my 3z. It's a positive 3z, so I'm going to subtract 3z on both sides. And then I'm going to bring everything else down. I'm going to bring down that negative 6.6, and I'm going to bring down my inequality. I'm going to bring down that negative 13.1. Then I'm going to do 4z minus 3z. That actually gives me a positive 1z. I'm not going to write it as 1z. I'm just going to keep it a plus z. Next, I need to move that negative 13.1. So I'm going to add 13.1 on both sides. Negative 6.6 plus 13.1 is going to give me a positive 6.5, and I'm going to have 6.5 is less than z. Now, since my z is on the right, I don't like that. I want to rewrite it to where my z is on the left. And so when I do that, the alligator is eating the z, and so when I rewrite that, I'm going to have z is greater than 6.5. I'm not changing the inequality, I'm just rewriting it to make it easier for me when I want to graph it. It's much easier for me to understand it when the variable is on the left. And so z is greater than 6.5. This is going to be an open interval, and since there's no line underneath that inequality, so I'm going to select the two parentheses. Z is greater than, it's bigger than 6.5, so I'm going to have a parentheses at 6.5, and then I'm going to take that line towards positive infinity since z is greater than 6.5, and that's what the line would look like once I graph it. Example 3, let's look at one with fractions. Step 1, we're going to write the solution using interval notation this time. And so I'm going to rewrite my inequality, and so I'm going to solve this inequality like I would a normal linear equation. I'm going to start by moving my variable, my smaller of the two variables. So I'm going to move that negative 2/3 z first. So since it's negative, I'm going to add 2/3 z to both sides. Then I'm going to bring down my 9, and I'm going to bring down that inequality. 2/3 z plus 2/3 z gives me 4/3 z. Then I have plus 5. So next I need to move the positive 5, and I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides. 9 minus 5 is going to give me a 4. So then I have 4 is greater than or equal to 4/3 z. 4/3 z is being multiplied by 4/3. And so I need to divide by 4/3. So I'm going to do 4 divided by 4/3, which is greater than or equal to z. Recall that when we divide by fractions, we need to flip that second fraction, and then we're going to actually multiply. So we're going to have 4 times 3/4 is greater than or equal to z. This simplifies to be 3 is greater than or equal to z. Now, I don't like that z being on the right, so I'm going to rewrite it to be on the left. And so the alligator is eating the 3, and so I want to make sure I do that when I rewrite it. So it'd be z is less than or equal to 3. as when I'm write it as interval notation, z is less than or equal to 3. There's a line underneath that inequality, so that means there's going to be a bracket at that 3, and then since z is less than, it's going to start at negative infinity. So this is what it would look like as interval notation. It would be parentheses, negative infinity, comma 3, bracket. Now I'm ready to graph it, and so that kind of gives me an idea of what I want to select when I go to graph it. It's going to be a half open interval, and so I'm going to select the parentheses and then the bracket one, and then now I'm going to graph it. So I'm going to put a bracket at the 3, and since z is less than, it's going towards negative infinity, I'm going to put the bracket at the 3, and then I'm going to take my line all the way to negative infinity when I graph it.